Path Media. I was a minimum wage movie theater usher that made good and became a top earner in my network marketing company. Now, after 16 plus years in the profession, I'm finally teaching myself how to leverage the internet with online marketing and social media marketing to continue to grow and expand my business. My name is Ronnie Cruz, and this is Path of the Network Marketer.
All right, welcome back to the show. Thanks for tuning in. Today, I want to talk about sharing the struggle. That's right, sharing the struggle in terms of content, in terms of the content that you're producing and publishing. Sharing the struggle with each other is a different conversation, right? Of course, we always want to support each other and lift each other up, and help each other on our journeys. That's a whole different episode. I want to talk about this episode is about content and the content that we produce and publish, the presence that we create online. We talked yesterday and the day before about branding and about culture, and the substance is really what those two topics are all about. Today with content, I think backtracking to looking back to when I first started, I knew I realized looking back at that material and that content that it was very informational driven, right? Like it was very well, because I wanted to present my best self, right? I wanted to put my best foot forward. And in my mind, I thought that meant presenting myself as the expert, presenting myself as the authority in the particular niche that I was teaching on, and that I was creating content for. And that's all well and good. However, I believe and I suggest that you create more content outside of being informational and educational, because your audience and the people that find your content, they'll get the information, and beyond that, there's really not going to be much else to attach to, right? There's not much else to align with and resonate with. You'll get people will get the information and move on, because they got what they need if it's just information. However, if you add more layers and more depth to it, then there'll be something that they can align with and get attached to, right? It's like watching a movie. Even a documentary, a well put together documentary, you become attached to the main theme or the main leading character because of the struggle that they're going through, right? Even thinking some of those like nature documentaries, a lot of times what they do is they take you on an adventure following one specific animal, and that's the lead character or the main character. That's the hero for that particular segment. So you follow them and you see their struggles and you see their journey, and that's what you get attached to. That's what becomes riveting, as opposed to just factoids about that specific species of animal, right? So same thing with our content. The informational content is great, the educational content is great, but again, I really believe that we need to give our audiences more to attach to, right? As something more engaging and something that they can really see themselves in, right? Because again, information is just information. When you share your struggle, it adds a depth to it. It adds a layer of humanity that people can then, like I said, align themselves with and get attached to. Because if they can see, if you communicate your struggle, and if you're authentic with your journey, then they can see that in themselves, right? There's a humanity that they can relate to. So with sharing your struggle and creating content that shares your struggle, that for me makes it so much more compelling, as opposed to trying to show up as the expert from day one. Share your journey, share the things that you're going through and what it takes to, what you're doing to get to the outcome that you're trying to create, as opposed to just, again, information and education. One example is if you're on a health journey, right? This is a big one. I see a lot of fitness accounts and people on health journey accounts, and the ones that are already like super fit and that have the 6-pack abs and they're chiseled and you can see every fiber of muscle on their bodies. Those are all well and good, but the accounts that I really love when it comes to health, when it comes to fitness and physical transformation and people gaining back control of their health, is when when I see somebody sharing their journey from being unhealthy to being healthy, to having a life of health and vitality. And so, that makes it much more engaging. It makes for much more compelling content, because you see the humanity in it. You see not only the end's result. You don't see just the wins and the information on how to get to the wins. You see the struggles along the way, and therefore you can relate to it, because, hey, man, if Ronnie went through that, on his journey, I mean, that's something that I'm feeling right now, right? And so, yeah, it makes your content that much more accessible, right? That much more accessible. So it's really, really important to be vulnerable. Of course, I'm not saying share your drama. That's not what sharing your struggle means. It's just like, what level of your own narrative and your own story are you willing to be open with? And I can guarantee you that the more open you are and the more authentic you are, the more people will really, really engage with your content, right? They want to see a human being. They don't just want to see information. They really don't. I mean, that stuff is good, like I said, but they're just going to move on after they get the information that they need. Give them something to root for. Give them something to get attached to. And that hero in the story that you're telling is you, right? So don't be afraid to share your struggle, especially if it's a simple formula is, share where you are, where you're starting from. Share where you started from if it's already in the past. Share where you are, and then share where you want to go, and then share the whole journey along the way, the wins as well as the struggles and the challenges, right? You want to give as much of that as you can, because again, that makes it more engaging, right? All right, so that's going to be the message for today. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions about it, of course, yeah, you know how to reach out to me. Come join us in our community, actually, facebook.com/groups/path of the network marketer. And if you haven't registered yet for our 3-day workshop masterclass, it's the Influencer Masterclass. You can go to ronniecruz.com/masterclass, happening February 27th through March 1st. Now, here's the advantage of listening to the podcast as opposed to watching the podcast on YouTube. And this wasn't really planned, but this is just how it worked out. The YouTube videos, when it comes out, the YouTube versions of this show are a week late. So if it's the only place that you listen to this podcast, you're gonna get the announcements late. So what I would suggest is, at the very least, going to the Facebook group so that you get the news and updates, right? I update that group on the regular. So again, it's facebook.com/group/path of the network marketer. I'll leave the link to all of this in the show notes of this episode. Of course, if you tune into the podcast, I will always update you, especially on things like the masterclass that's coming up. My very first masterclass on February 27th through March 1st. Again, it's ronniecruz.com/masterclass. Again, I'll leave the link the link for the registration for that in the show notes. If you can't make it during the times and those dates, the replay will be made available to everybody that registers for a limited time. So you're going to want to make sure you register, just so you don't miss any of it, right? All right, so anyways, that's it. Tune in for more stuff from me tomorrow. So until then, be well, be safe. We'll see you in the next episode.